It struck me the other day that I've never made a Mac buying guide, so here we go. Slight correction, I have made Mac buying guides in the past, but they've always been model specific. So, which MacBook Pro to buy, which iMac to buy, etc, etc. I've never done an overarching which Mac should you get video, hence this. Now the good news is it's very straightforward. There's a 3-step process I have for getting yourself into the correct mindset for buying the right Mac. And then I'm going to cover each type of Mac and which one might be for you. Now, I promise we'll get through this as quickly as possible. I'm not going to go into specs because that's for a different video. I just want to work out for you which one is best. Before I get stuck in, guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, but you've been watching this channel for a while, just click that button, please. It makes a massive difference. And if you haven't checked out my completely free weekly newsletter, there's a link in the description. You get additional content, you get access to my Discord server, which is full of very cool people, and myself. And, well, go and check it out. Okay, step 1 in your Mac buying journey is to decide the budget, which sounds obvious, but it's amazing how easy it is to get carried away when you're buying a Mac and just go for the wrong one and spend too much money, basically. So there's 2 numbers that you need to note down. The first one is your ideal budget. It's the amount that you want to spend, really. It's the figure that has been in your head for a while, even if you don't know it. That's the one to aim for. The second number is your stretch budget. So this is where you can spend this amount if you have to. If you see a model just above that is exciting, or for instance, if you're looking at the MacBook Air and you think, oh, the MacBook Pro, the base model MacBook Pro is the one for me actually, that is your stretch budget because it's more expensive than this one. Note down those 2 numbers and promise yourself you'll stick to one of them. Step 2 is to think about secondhand versus brand new. Now, you will be one of the people who either wants the latest thing and you want the manufacturer warranty and you just want that kind of warm, fuzzy feeling that the Mac that you've bought is the current one. Completely understand that. Equally, you might be the sort of person who thinks, if I take that money I would have spent on something brand new and put it towards something secondhand, I'll probably get something faster, something better. Again, completely understand that. You know which type of person you are, but it's worth thinking about at this stage just because it will dictate, I think, which Mac you go for. And it can be the difference between going from a MacBook Air to a MacBook Pro, for instance, if you go for a second-hand MacBook Pro over a brand new MacBook Air. But that is entirely up to you, but please start thinking about it now. Step 3 is to think about portable versus desktop. Now, this might be obvious. You may be the sort of person who never leaves the office, in which case it probably makes sense to go for something here. Or you might be the sort of person who's constantly working in coffee shops and moving around the house and doing that sort of stuff, in which case you can't really do that with an iMac. You need a MacBook. But once again, you need to think about this now. And equally, it may not be obvious. You may be that person who works primarily from a desk at home, but what if one day you think, I want to go to a coffee shop down the road? Wouldn't it be nice to just take one of these with you, potentially? Think a little bit about the future. Again, I can't tell you what sort of person you are here, but it really will help for the next part of this video if you think about which type of Mac you need. Before I continue, just a very quick word from today's sponsor, which is RoboForm. If you're still storing your passwords in your head, or worse still, you use the same password for everything, you need a password manager, and RoboForm is the best and the most affordable one I found. It's basically this huge, secure digital vault into which you can store all of your usernames and passwords, secure notes, anything that you have digitally that you want to keep away from prying eyes. You can put into RoboForm, and they have a no breach history, which means you have complete peace of mind. You can share passwords with family and friends very securely. There's an emergency access feature, so if something happens and you can't get into your passwords yourself, you can have a designated person who can. There's a one-click login feature which does exactly what it says on the tin. One click and immediately you're straight into your favorite website or web app. RoboForm also works across all of your devices, so Mac, Windows, Android, iOS, everything basically. And the best news is, guys, I've worked with RoboForm for quite a while now, which means I can get an amazing deal for you. To find out more, just click that link in the description. Right, Mac Studio versus Mac Mini. Firstly, I love the size difference here. It's absolutely hilarious. However, real talk, you could spend the wrong money here quite quickly. And the reason for that is that I don't think many people who need a Mac Studio are watching this video. And the reason for that is because this is purely, I think, for commercial grade stuff. If you run a business, a creative business, or a development business, or a data-driven business, and you need a very powerful Mac, get one of these. It makes total sense. It's a great investment for your business. If you're watching this video and you're thinking between this and this, just get the M4 Mac Mini. I called this, and I still call it, the best thing that Apple has ever made. If you don't agree with me, get involved in the comments. But the reason I say that is because it opens the doors for so many people. And it's a real showing of just what Apple Silicon can do. Look at the size of it. It's so tiny. And you can still spec it up quite a bit. And yes, it starts to creep into this territory when you spec it up, but they're still very different Macs. And the good news is you don't need to spec this up, guys. If you get the base model, upgrade the storage to 512 gig, that's enough. If you want a bit more performance and you're worried about longevity and you've got some business reason for it, so you do some creative work or whatever, get the M4 Pro. You don't need one of these. A case in point, I've never owned a Mac Studio. The reason this is in the studio now is thanks to Hoxton Macs. If you need a refurbished Mac, guys, and you live in the UK, these guys will sort you out. We'll put a link down in the description. They're not sponsoring this video, by the way, but they do help us out occasionally by getting Macs into this studio. But we had to do that this time because I've got no need for this. In fact, the only thing that this has over this is that front-facing SD card slot. This doesn't have an SD card slot at all. It's a pain in the backside, but equally, it's not worth spending more money on that because of that reason. And there's a million other reasons you wouldn't go for the Mac Studio over this. I'm not rubbishing the Mac Studio at all. I'm just being real with you. I think if you're watching this Mac buying guide, this isn't for you. Now, we are talking about desktop Macs here, and we will come on to the MacBooks in a moment, I promise. But there's another option, because obviously with these, you have to buy a mouse, keyboard, monitor, etc. If that sounds like a bit of a faff, hang on. You probably need one of these, an iMac. It's the best all-in-one computer on the market. I know you can get Windows all-in-ones, but Windows. And this gives you everything you need. Obviously, you also get a keyboard and a mouse or a trackpad with it, but you just plug it in, turn it on, and it just works. Now, there's only one display size. That is the one downside with this, so you get 24-inch or nothing, basically. I would not hang on the promise or the rumor mill suggestion that we're going to get a big iMac again. I can't see it happening, personally. It may happen, it may not happen, who knows, but do not hang on those rumors. If you want a very simple to use Mac and you want it to be completely desktop based, the iMac is probably the one to go for, simply because there's no faff. Trust me, the 24-inch display on this is adequate. In fact, it's bigger than you think it is. Stop laughing at the back. The other desktop Mac that we need to very quickly talk about is the Mac Pro, which I don't have here because I value all of my limbs and I don't want to sell one of them to obtain one. So again, guys, if you need a Mac Pro, you're not watching this video, basically. If you're tempted by the Mac Pro and you don't have a legitimate business reason for it, good luck. Please don't buy one. Don't. I genuinely think the Mac Pro's future is limited. I think. I don't... The fact that you can get such a powerful Mac Studio, I just don't know what sort of person you need to be or what on earth you're doing to need a Mac Pro. So that one isn't in this buying guide. Sorry. Not sorry, actually. You just don't need it, trust me. Okay, so if you've decided on a MacBook over a desktop Mac, you technically have 4 choices. You have the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro, and the reason it's 4 choices is because we have a 13-inch and a 15-inch over here, and a 14-inch and a 16-inch over here. Now, I've lost count of how many times people have said to me, if you spec up a MacBook Air to a certain point, you might as well just buy a MacBook Pro. I completely disagree with that because they are completely different laptops. The M4 MacBook Air, case in point, is the best laptop money can buy. I said that recently in the review, and lots of other people are saying the same thing. I think the combination of the build quality, the longevity, the resale value, the performance, the design, everything about it is just unbeatable. And that means for 90% of the people who are watching this video and who want a MacBook, that is the one to go for. And once again, the base spec with 16 gig of unified memory is the one to go for. Yes, you could spec up the storage if you want to, but I wouldn't go much more than that. The MacBook Pro, a bit like the Mac Studio, is for very specific use cases. It's for commercial use. It's for people, developers, music producers, video editors, people who do that stuff for a living and have to get stuff done quickly. That is what this laptop is for. It's heavier, it's chunkier, it's more expensive, because I can guarantee if you start speccing one of these up, you'll keep going and you will spend more money and you will go past, you'll sail past that stretch budget you set at the start of this video. It's for very specific people, and the market for this is much smaller than this. this. If you want a do-it-all laptop that can do literally everything and can do some more fancy stuff if you get into video editing or you fancy trying your hand at music production and you want that laptop to last for a long time, get yourself the MacBook Air. Get an M4 MacBook Air and thank me later. There has never been a better time to buy a Mac. The Apple Silicon generation that you see in front of me is overwhelmingly good, and that means that whichever one you buy, you're going to be happy with. So, over to you. Which Mac are you buying in 2025 and why? Get involved in the comments.